Hey everybody, today I'm out here at the Scottsdale Airport with the newest member of the Cadillac V-Series family. This is the 2023 Escalade V, and as you guys probably noticed, I am not Alex. Hello, I'm Sofyan from Redline Reviews. Alex sadly could not make it to this event, but because he's a good friend of mine, I figured I'd show you guys everything you need to know about the new Escalade V, so let's get right into it. So I'm gonna try my best to do my best impersonation here of Alex, but let's go ahead and start talking about the exterior styling of this new Escalade V. Now this is a huge deal for Cadillac because they've never done a V-Series version of the Escalade or an SUV. So this is a huge first for them. And because this is one of the best-selling vehicles in the segment, Cadillac actually sold over 40,000 last year. This is a very important model. So let's look at the look of this car. Now, first of all, if you guys have seen Alex's review on an Escalade Sport or Sport Platinum, the front fascia of this thing looks pretty much the same. In fact, Cadillac didn't really make that many changes to it, which it didn't really need to. What they did, however, give us are functional changes because we have a new engine underneath the hood that's going to require additional cooling. Now, this particular one here that I'm showing you in the white, it's an ESV trim, so it's the long wheelbase model, and it also has plenty of black accents. The black accents really look good here with the white exterior color. You have the sport mesh grille here that allows for a lot of air to pass through to give you cooling for that engine. And then down here on the lower front skirt, this is the biggest difference you're going to see between a standard Escalade and this Escalade V-Series, because Cadillac gave it a unique front splitter that also includes larger air intakes. You have this really interesting mail slot right here is what they call it, that allows air to kind of go into the engine bay to allow air to go through the intercooler. And then over here you can see there's a little bit more vents over here along with the full-length LED tail light or LED turn signal. You can see it's got an LED daytime running light, LED turn signal. You have full LED headlights where it's kind of like that skinnier design along with the you're going to find that has something with nearly 700 horsepower, and it's around 15 inches longer than the standard Escalade. So you're gonna get basically more space on the interior and more space in the trunk area. Now, in terms of the wheels, you can see all Escalade Vs are gonna come with these 22-inch wheels. They're wrapped in two 75, 50 series all-season tires. That's the one thing Cadillac doesn't offer is a summer tire. Instead, you just have this Bridgestone Alenza all-season tire. You can take your pick between either a gray finish or a black finish, and then the brakes are going to be upgraded on a model like this. You have a 16.1-inch rotor in the front, clamped down by a 6-piston Brembo caliper design. The caliper is actually painted in edge red, which again, Cadillac designers wanted the brakes to actually stand out, which is why you have this multiple spoke. I would like to see the wheel in a black finish. I also kind of wish that it didn't have quite as much sidewall. For a vehicle like this, I would have preferred a lower profile tire, but I suspect Cadillac kept that for ride quality purposes, because remember, this is supposed to also be a luxury SUV. Now, in terms of the suspension, Cadillac does equip this car with a 4-corner air suspension. It also has Magno rheological dampers, and the rear suspension remains independent. They've also stiffened up the spring rate for the rear suspension to give this truck a unique feel, a stiffer feel when you guys are going down the road. And then you can see over here, the turn signals are integrated nicely into the side mirrors. You have that same black painted low profile roof rails with a standard panoramic sunroof, and you can really see how big this truck is, especially when you look at the rear quarter panel over here. This is where you see most of the extra length. It's also a little bit in the wheelbase. And then follow me over to the rear of the truck. You do have a full length LED taillight, which Alex says this is like 3 feet long in length. The taillights themselves, full LED, you have an LED turn signal, LED brake lights, and then in terms of badging, there's one V badge on the back here, along with another V badge on the side on each of the doors. And then over here you can see the exhaust system, quad outlet exhaust with its own unique rear diffuser. This is going to give you that unique sound, and let me tell you, this truck sounds pretty badass. We'll get this out on the road later on. You guys will be able to hear that. There is an integrated tow hitch behind here. This truck will still tow a maximum of 7,000 pounds, which is great. And then if you want to get into the back area, you can see there is a separate rear glass that allows you to kind of access this area without having to open up the entire rear cargo area. But if you guys want to open it up entirely, you push the Cadillac logo here, and that will open up the power liftgate, which this model here is going to have way more trunk space. Now, Alex likes to do his little exclusive trunk comfort index. Now, I'm considerably shorter than Alex. I'm like 5'7", so let me go ahead and get back here and show you guys, even with our backpacks, I can kind of get back here and almost sit back here. So you could actually put somebody back here. Now, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not legal. So Alex gave the standard wheelbase model at 9 out of 10. I would easily give this probably an 11 out of 10, higher than 10 out of 10 because I'm short and I could probably actually kick back and lay down back here. So this area right here is actually around 42.7 cubic feet of total space. If you want to fold down the third row, which you can do pretty easily by pushing this button over here, the seats fold down, this actually expands the space out to 94 cubic feet of space. 94 cubic feet of space and still having the second row. If you want to fold down the second row again, this expands it out to 134 cubic feet of space. So really, you're going to have to buy a minivan to get even more space in this. This is one of the reasons why Cadillac offers the Escalade V in ESV form. Now, under the hood of the most batshit crazy version of the Escalade, of course, we have an engine that's going to put a huge smile on your face. This is the same 6.2 liter supercharged pushrod V8 with variable valve timing that we see in the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing. Now, the engine itself is built at their Bowling Green, Kentucky plant, where they also assemble motors for the Corvette. It's a hand-built engine. In fact, a guy named Steve Stinson actually built this engine. So thank you, Steve, for putting together this lovely engine. Now, I got the name wrong. This is a different guy who put the engine together. The Corey Stinson's over there. Or no, Steve Stinson's over there. Vehicle in general makes nearly 700 horsepower, 682 horsepower, which is actually 14 more versus the engine in the CT5V Blackwing. And it has more horsepower because Cadillac actually put a bigger supercharger in this. It's got 2.65 liter TVS supercharger that puts out 10 pounds of boost. So 682 horsepower and 653 pound-feet of torque. That's an increase of around 260 horsepower versus the standard non-supercharged version of this engine, and torque is up nearly 200 pound-feet as well. It all goes out through a 10-speed automatic transmission. This is a Cadillac design transmission. It's had the hardware and software beefed up to be able to handle the extra horsepower and torque. It's one of the quickest shifting automatics that I've ever actually driven. And in terms of fuel economy, Cadillac didn't have those final figures ready for us, but for those of you who can afford a vehicle like this, you're probably not going to be thinking about fuel economy. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it's probably around the 12 to 16 mpg mark. Premium gas is going to be required. I believe this vehicle has like a 28-gallon gas tank, so it's not going to be a cheap vehicle to fill up on a daily basis. Now, the beauty about the Escalade is it's still be able to tow if you guys plan to tow heavy loads. This will tow a maximum of 7,000 pounds, and Cadillac says you should get to 60 in around 4.5 seconds for this ESV model. It'll also reach a top speed of around 124 miles an hour, and because this is the longer version, it weighs in close to 6,500 pounds. When it comes to seat comfort, Alex gave the standard Escalade a 10 out of 10, and I have to say he probably would do the same thing for this Escalade V because we essentially have the same seat as the one that's in the Sport Platinum. So these are the semi-aniline perforated leather. They're actually heated and ventilated, and they include a massage function. That's standard on every Escalade V, and you also have your seat controls right where you'd expect them. These are an 18-way full power seat, which includes the massage function. Like I mentioned, you can see you can also access the 4-way lumbar support, which is something that Alex always appreciates. And then you can see here usual seat controls for adjusting the forward and back, the recline feature, and there's also a separate button here for the massage. I'd have to say that the seats for my frame, remember I'm shorter than Alex by a good amount, I can easily get comfortable, and I also like how Cadillac didn't decide to put these massive bolstering extensions for this vehicle. Remember, they said that this vehicle isn't supposed to be something that you'll take out to the track, so it didn't really need to have even more aggressive bolstering extensions. You can kind of squeeze these to make them a little bit more tight if you guys want to feel a little bit more firm into the seat, but overall, the seats are going to be one of the most comfortable aspects of the Escalade V. Looking at the back seat of the Escalade V, this one here is the ESV model, which means you have a ton of space in the second and even more legroom in the third row. Cadillac says you get around 41.7 inches of legroom back here. The captain's chairs are going to be standard, and they're also covered in the same semi-aniline leather. These seats are only heated, sadly. Cadillac does not offer a cooled seat in the second row, but you can see here manual controls for the seats. They also offer a quick little release here, if you pull that twice, to fold the seat down to get into the third row of this vehicle. Now, getting inside, you can see there's a nice grab handle here that helps you get into the vehicle. As I get in and shut the door also sounds really nice when you shut it. And then you can see here in terms of space, now I'm not quite as tall as Alex, I'm 5'7", but you can see here I have a ton of space to kind of stretch about. There's a flat floor over here, and there's also a really nice flat pass-through here to get into the third row if you don't want to fold that seat down. This particular tester has the rear seat entertainment package. I believe these are a 12-inch monitor. It includes Hulu already built in. You also have 2 HDMI ports where you can kind of connect your own video source to the actual screen. You have your own set of rear seat climate control, 3-level heated seats, like I said, cup holders that pop out here that give you a little bit more storage as well. Then you have 2 USB-C charging ports, 2 USB ports, or HDMI ports, and then you can see here a household 110 power outlet right there if you guys want to plug in like a laptop computer. In terms of the materials, it's still the same soft touch materials from the front, so they didn't skimp over there, which is nice. I'm surprised to see no retractable sunshade in the back here, which would have been nice to kind of block out more of the sun and give you a little bit more privacy. And then you can see here the sunroof does eat into the headroom space a little bit right here. So somebody as tall like Alex will probably have their head getting a little bit closer to the ceiling of this vehicle now. 6.7 inches. This is pretty comparable to something like a Honda Civic or a Volkswagen Jetta. Full-size adults can actually get comfortable back here because the floor is much lower, because Cadillac went with a independent rear suspension back here for this generation, which allows the seat to fold down completely flat and give you a flat load floor or a nice lower load floor here for those of you who actually need to put full-size adults. The seats themselves, this vehicle is about 81 inches wide, so you do have enough width back here to kind of sit 3 people across, which is nice. There is some LED map lighting back here in the rear seat, along with rear seat air vents. There's more suede Alcantara here, and there's a nice padded area over here where you'd rest your elbow. Cadillac also includes a USB-C charging port here, some cup holders and storage, but sadly, even though this seat is power folding, it doesn't offer a power recline function, which is something that I thought they would add for the third row area to allow rear seat passengers to get more comfortable. If you like the seats in the regular Escalade, you're going to also really like the interior of the Escalade V, because it essentially takes everything that we like about the standard Escalade and carries it over, including all of the great tech. Now, first thing you're going to notice right away is this huge wall of screens. This is a 38-inch curved OLED display. It's consisting of 3 different screens. You have a 7-inch screen over here, which is a touch screen where you can kind of change the way that this screen looks. You can see over here, this is a 14.2-inch completely customizable OLED display. And then over here on the right side is a 16.9-inch infotainment display. This is where you're going to access the Apple CarPlay, the GPS, or you can also put the GPS in the center screen. Here you can see this is where I have it on the trip computer display. If you push this, you can also change the gauge look to also put the map display, which you can see as it loads up, looks really great. It puts the tachometer down there along with your fuel gauge, and then it gives you a digital speedometer. And then you can also pull up an AR camera, that's the augmented reality camera, which basically takes the forward-facing camera and puts it right here on the screen, and then you can overlay GPS turn-by-turn directions in there, which all looks really great. There's also a night vision camera, which isn't gonna work right now because we're in the middle of the daytime, but this night vision camera is standard. It's typically a $2,000 extra charge if you guys go for the regular Escalade. And then you can also access the heads-up display, which you can see the heads-up display, you can increase the height and the brightness and the content of this, and then you can also increase the brightness and sharpness of the night vision display. This right here on this screen, you can see the 16.9-inch curved display also looks great. Cadillac says this has roughly twice the pixel density or the resolution of the 4K television that's probably in your living room. This is the home display. It looks really nice. If you want to pull up the GPS, you can see the GPS basically takes up almost the entire display, which looks good. The one thing Cadillac doesn't offer is a satellite imagery view, which you might find in something like Audi with their Google Earth system. But you can see here, going back to the home display, this is what the CarPlay looks like. It's got wireless CarPlay. I'm really sad how Cadillac doesn't allow you to take up the entire screen. There's kind of like an unused area right here on the display, which would have been nice if they included that. But you can see it's relatively quick and snappy. The graphics and resolution also looks good. And you can also use this via touchscreen, or you can also use this little controller right here in the center stack. Now, speaking of which, of the center console area, this is the shifter that controls the 10-speed automatic. If I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your full top-down 360 camera. It gives you a ton of views, really great graphics and resolution. You can also do a top-down 360 view. It's got traffic aware. It's got rear cross traffic alert and automatic rear braking, which is definitely nice. The seat actually vibrates as somebody walked by and let me know that there was a pedestrian walking by, which is a really great feature. And then in case you guys also want to see what the key fob looks like, this is the key fob that you get on the Escalade V. It's painted in edge red, which is the same color as the brake calipers to let you know that you've got red brake calipers. The key itself includes their smart entry. It has remote engine start, which is definitely a nice feature, and it's also a nice hefty size. This is the same key fob that we find on other GM products. There's a lot of zebra wood trim splashed throughout this cabin, and you can see in terms of the materials, you do have real leather stitching along the entire dashboard. There's even leather stitching along the outer edge of the curved OLED display, leather padding area here on the upper dash, padded area over here, which is nice. You have these nice metal accented controls with a digital display here for the climate control, and you also have really nice door panel materials. Same leather along the actual door with real aluminum trim, aluminum door handle, heated and cooled seats, like I said, with a massage function. Nice padded area over here, and then there's a little storage area here where you could use this as a grab handle. The window controls also, all 4 windows are one touch, and they feel really nice and high quality. Which is definitely going to make you feel like you're driving a special feeling vehicle. This cover here closes to, and it's a really large cover that covers up the cup holder storage area here, additional storage right here, and then you've got 2 USB charging ports, an A and a C charging port. There's also a wireless phone charging pad here, which barely fits my iPhone 12 Pro Max, but it fits snugly in there and also is charging my phone, which is pretty nice. The seats, like I said earlier, they look really great. What you're probably noticing here, however, are the 2 speakers that are in each of the headrests, which is also on the driver's side. This has a 36 speaker AKG audio system, which sounds really good. It actually has almost the same amount of speakers as the 38 inches of screen real estate. So that's kind of a cool little bragging right. These seats are perforated leather. It's semi-aniline leather, which again, feel really high quality. They're really soft and comfortable seats. The glove compartment, you can see open this up, or the center console, I'm sorry, you can see open this up. It has really deep storage. There is an option where you can put in a refrigerator here, which this particular one is missing. You have 2 more USB charging ports over in there, which is all very useful. And then the glove compartment, you can see it's a bin style, it's damped and it's lined with felt. It offers a really good amount of storage in that glove box. And then above me, you can see the headliner is covered in Alcantara. You have a power retractable sunshade along with this big panoramic sunroof, which again lets in a lot of light. The interior color options are either only black like this one, or there's also a deep auburn, which is kind of like a burgundy color. Sadly, Cadillac does not offer a brighter, lighter color interior, which would have been nice to find, especially since you can get that in the other trim levels of the Escalade. So here we are behind the wheel of the Escalade V, and while the regular Escalade, Alex has done a few videos on that model, it's a perfectly capable family truck style SUV that'll do 0 to 60. I believe his testing was 6.1 seconds. Cadillac says 4.5 for this ESV, which I don't think Alex actually had a chance to drive the ESV. He had just had the standard wheelbase model on his channel, but this model has roughly 260 plus more horsepower versus the non-supercharged engine. So 260 plus horsepower is going to make a huge difference. I have the truck in V mode right now, and wait until you guys hear this. This noise is just stupid insane. Yeah, I know Alex doesn't really typically give you guys reactions like that, but I would be curious to see what his thoughts were, because, and in his mind, he'll probably compare the sound a lot to the Durango SRT Hellcat, which was only available for 1 year. It's not available anymore. But I asked the Cadillac guys, would you compare this thing to a Durango SRT Hellcat? They just laughed in my face, because the Durango doesn't have the refinement that the Escalade has. And I have to say, I think I agree with them, because this car right now is in V mode. It's in its, stiffest setting, it's in its loudest setting, its most aggressive setting. But when I'm off the throttle and just kind of cruising along, you do hear a little bit of pop and burble from the exhaust. But the truck just feels so incredibly refined. It rides really nicely. We've got 4-corner air suspension with the Magno Rheological dampers, 4-wheel independent suspension as well. And this thing reminds you that you're driving a Cadillac. It reminds that you're driving a luxury car until you start playing with the paddles or putting your foot down. Let's go ahead and use the paddle shifters here. Remember, this is 10 speeds. And the spacing of the gearing is just insane. This is the 10-speed auto that is shared with the regular 10-speed and other Escalades, but they've beefed up the hardware and the software to handle the extra torque and also give it quicker shift logic. It's one of the quickest shifting conventional torque converter automatics I've ever experienced. And just that noise is just hilarious. It just screams like welcome to America. And I love that Cadillac specifically tuned the active exhaust to just give you the backfire, the crackles. It's hilarious. But let's go ahead and take it out of V mode, because I know Alex will want to show you guys what this thing is like as a regular luxury car, daily driver type of vehicle. And when you have it in its regular touring mode here, the engine and transmission goes into a more, less noisy mode. The ride gets a little bit softer. And this car just rides and handles really well. It always reminds you that you're driving a Cadillac. Now, it does feel big. That's the thing about this vehicle, is I'm in the ESV model, which is like 15 inches longer than the standard version. And you feel that extra length. The width is pretty much the same. This truck is around 81 inches wide, so it takes up a big chunk of the road. But in terms of everything else, like the seats feel pretty much the same as a Sport Platinum. I actually was surprised that Cadillac didn't change the seats all that much. The steering wheel also feels pretty much the same, aside from the V badges here. I was hoping they'd give us like a flat bottom wheel design. This model does have the Super Cruise option on it, which is a late availability. It works pretty much like how every other Super Cruise system, where it does active lane changes for you, but it doesn't do like the suggestion for, taking exits like what Tesla does with their Navigate on Autopilot feature. But it is very much one of the best systems that I've ever used, and it actually does allow for true hands-free driving, and you don't have to deal with a beta system like with Tesla with their full self-driving capability, which is technically in beta. This truck uses a lot of the LiDAR mapping and the roads that they've mapped out, that the engineers have driven over the cross-country or over the continental US and Canada to allow you for the true hands-free driving experience. But other than that, it's a comfortable car. It's super refined. It gives you a great commanding view of the road. It's batshit fun whenever you put your foot down. And right now I have it in tour mode, but I want to show you guys really quick how loud it is. It's still really loud, honestly, even in its comfort setting. I'm impressed actually how loud it still will get. But again, when you back off the throttle, it's super quiet. And you also have all this room. You have a ton of room for your family, your stuff, or their stuff, your kids, your pets, your animals, whatever. And this vehicle will still tow up to 7,000 pounds. So that's kind of the beauty about the Escalade V, is it gives you the best of both worlds. You can essentially take this vehicle, all of your friends to the track. While you can't drive this car out on the track, it'll get you there in style and comfort, and it also will do it in a absolutely crazy. Actually going to be feeling a little bit more nimbler out on the road. You may want to consider its German rivals, more specifically the Mercedes-AMG GLS 63 or the BMW Alpina XB7. Now, Cadillac will tell you all day long it doesn't compete with those vehicles because those are car-based crossovers as opposed to a body-on-frame truck like this vehicle. Something that Alex probably would compare it to would be a Durango Hellcat. However, again, the Durango was only available for 1 year. While it did have a similar engine and even had more horsepower than this, the Dodge was way more unrefined. It was a little bit more crude in its power delivery, wasn't as smooth, it wasn't as comfortable, and that's the whole point of buying an Escalade V, is it's got that dual mode personality that you kind of expect for a vehicle that's going to be charging you well into the six-figure price range for this truck. Now, speaking of which, if you guys are looking to purchase the new Escalade V, they are heading to dealer showrooms by the late summer, so figure August, September of this year. And the standard wheelbase model is going to start at $149,990. So basically 150 grand. That's a lot of money. It's about twice the price of a standard Escalade. However, if you look at the equipment of the Escalade V, it's basically equipped like a platinum trim. And it also comes standard with things like the night vision camera, the AKG audio system. So really, if you start pricing it out in terms of option for option, this truck is really around $30,000 more expensive, which I think is worth every penny. But for those of you who want to buy something like this, it's really in a class of its own, and that's kind of the unique aspect. Now, this ESV model is about $3,000 more, so it starts at around $152,990. That's still, again, a big chunk of money. We don't have final pricing just yet on this truck in terms of what the destination is going to be, in terms of what the specific options of this truck. So we'll have that, of course, as we get closer to the on-sale date in a couple more months. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview, first drive on the 2023 Cadillac Escalade V. Be sure to let me know what you guys think of the new Escalade V right down there in the comment section below. If you guys also haven't done so, be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and also on Twitter. I think Alex also has a Twitter. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will catch you all, I guess, next time whenever Alex and I decide to do another collaboration or whenever I have to do another video for him. Take care, guys.